Hi, welcome to this close-up mini-lecture on secularization. To get a handle on what sociologists mean by secularization, you have to travel back in time to the ancient world and the Middle Ages, when the only ways of understanding one's world were via religion and spirituality. Whether the influence of pagan beliefs was dominant, as it was in some places, or whether a particular place had fallen under the spell of Christianity or Islam, there was simply no way of looking at one's self, society, or nature that was not filtered through the lens of belief. In terms of how people looked at the natural world, everything was seen as connected to the divine or to some kind of animating spirit. Hence, the idea of an enchanted world. However, in the aftermath of the scientific revolution and the industrial revolution, things began to change. Max Weber himself coined the phrase, the disenchantment of the world, to describe the apparent decline in the importance of religion. Many other sociologists followed suit, predicting that as societies modernize and become more sophisticated, religious belief would eventually fade into insignificance. This is what we call the secularization thesis. When we look at patterns of religious attendance in Canada over time, this secularization thesis seems to be borne out. This graph breaks out trends in religious attendance by region, but you can see what the overall pattern is over time. Here we see a slightly different view, and over a longer time span. You can see that the only counter-trend to the decline in attendance is among Protestant churches. By the way, we do know Protestant churches overall are not enjoying increases in attendance, but only those of a fundamentalist and evangelical persuasion are. With all of this social tumult of the 1960s, the secularization thesis was at the front and center of public discourse in North America, as symbolized by this 1966 cover of Time magazine. Had religion become irrelevant to modern societies? Up until the 1990s, most sociologists were very much on the side of the secularization thesis. However, all along, there has been plenty of evidence that religion is not only refusing to go away, but is in many places flourishing. Look at how many Canadians say they believe in God. There is also growth in religious organizations, both Christian and non-Christian, that take a more fundamentalist approach. Plus, you'd have to be living on another planet not to see that there is no lack of interest in all kinds of spirituality. Finally, the global picture of growth in religious organizations is pretty clear, especially in Islam and Hinduism. Attendance might be down, but religiosity itself is alive and well. The result is that many sociologists have changed their position on religion. Which brings us to the revised secularization thesis, a rethinking of the overly simplistic idea that religion would and should bow to modernity. Sociologists recognize that religious beliefs have lost their hold on worldly institutions as they have gotten more secularized. For instance, most political systems are avowedly secular. However, even though the scope of religious authority in social life has gotten smaller, the persistence of religious belief is remarkable. Looked at another way, we might say that religion has retreated from the public to the private sphere, at least in the industrialized world. In the developing world, especially in the Middle East, religion is at the very center of several societies that are in some danger of being torn apart by disagreements over its power and expression. Why do religions persist? Because they address the questions that no one else does. They are also really good at responding and adapting to new and changing interests in spirituality. Thanks. Make sure you also check out the lecture on religion through the eyes of sociology.